Alright, in this video, I'm going to show you how to create a picture gallery that you can pick various pictures from, and you can actually apply those directly to your wallpaper as I'm doing right here. We can apply any of these pictures over from 500px. Here's my disclaimer right now. Some of these pictures are adult content. There are some pictures over at 500px that are rather revealing. So I'm going to try to keep those off of this video, but I want to express to you that yes, some of these pictures will maybe show a little bit more than what you're expecting. The 500px by no means, I mean, this is included. The pattern matching in KLWP, one of the examples of pattern matching in the functions of KLWP uses 500px. Just be careful with what images you pick, especially if you have children around. So there's my disclaimer, or if you have your wife around or your husband. So be careful. Now, what we can also do too, if I pick an image that I like, and suppose I want to keep that image right there, well, what I can do is I can set this thing right here, this little plus, I can cut that to off. It says off now. And now I can just browse through these and it's not going to change the wallpaper. Notice the wallpaper is not changing right now. So if I cut it back on, suppose I select this car, like I'm clicking on that car and I don't see it. Well, I have to cut this back on, and now we do have the car showing right there. And then also what we can do, as long as we have this on, we can get the link to that picture. It's going to open up that picture, and now we can save this to our device. Now, for those of you who have purchased dark Skittles, I have a little perk. This entire preset is going to be shared with you. And not only do you get the 500px, but you're also going to get, check this out, Reddit. Space porn, nature porn, earth porn, any of those over at Reddit. If I take away this RSS, the SFW, I think it's called the SFW porn network, you can actually add any of these, summer porn, mushroom porn, whatever you want, and we can do the same stuff. So like here's geek. Where's that one at? Any of these you can add. So there's the geek one right there. We can click on Captain America, and then bam, there we have them right there on a scrolling wallpaper. Pretty sweet, huh? Now, for the tutorial, I'm going to show you 500px because that was the original request, and plus it's going to take long enough for me to show you that. So let's go ahead and have a look at KLWP. Now I'm going to keep the phone over here for right now because I do have to show you a few things in regards to how we're going to create this. So let's just start with a blank preset. And I'm going to go over to globals, and we want to go ahead and figure out the pieces that we want. Now, what things can we get from 500px? 500px, we can get popular editors, upcoming, and fresh for RSS feeds, and they mention that right here. So I'm going to go to globals, and I'm just going to call this one 500px, and it's going to be a text global variable. All right. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go down through here and go to WebGet. And I'm just going to make sure I type this in as close as possible. We want to do some pattern matching, but we're not going to do this actual piece just yet. So I'm going to type in 500px.com/ and then I'm going to go ahead and type a global in here, which I have not created yet, but I'm going to call this GVWhich. And I'm going to tell you what we do with that right here in a second. .rss. So basically what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be doing this web address, and I guess, we'll test it out and see. We're going to do HTTPS like that to kind of match this. But you may notice that in my little code over here, I have GVWhich because we want to be able to cycle through popular, what are the other ones? Popular, upcoming, fresh, and editors. So there is our URL. And I'm calling that 500px. I'm going to add a list global variable. And in this list global variable, we're going to do those particular topics, RSS topics. So we have popular, upcoming, fresh, and we have editors, okay? And let's call this which. This is going to be, so now that I have a which, I'm just going to go ahead and define it as popular. So now when I go back to this URL, now we do see that popular pops up in here. As a matter of fact, if I come in here and change this to upcoming and I go back to the 500px, notice it says upcoming. So we're going to be able to get those various RSS feeds just like that. Now, something else we want to go ahead and add here as well is a text global variable. We want to call this count. and I'm just going to put this at 0. We're going to do a little bit of experimenting here. I made this one a while back, so you'll get to see the trial and error stuff that I'm going to be going through. And what else do we need? I think that is, oh yes, we need set to set, and that's going to be an on-off switch. And I'll come back at the end of the video and show you how to do that. I think that's all we need for this video. I might come back and add some more right here in a minute. Now, let's go ahead and test out our first image. So let's add a shape. I'm going to do these in regards to shapes. And let's just make this square. Okay, what's 720? Crap, I don't have a calculator. Oh, yes, I do. 720 divided by 5, so 144. Okay, we're good by keeping it right around there. So I'm going to have a square. It's going to be around 120. I was taking the 720 because that's the width of my screen, and I want to put approximately 5 pictures in each piece. We could go a little bit bigger too, like 720 divided by 4. I tell you what, let's do that. So 180, I'm going to bump this up just a hair. Let's go up to like 160. All right, now for FX, what we want to do here is go to texture, and we want to make this square a bitmap, and let's apply code to the bitmap. And now this is where I'm going to do the pattern matching. So the pattern matching is going to come from this thing here. This is the RSS for 500px.com/popular.rss. And what we want to get is the image. We want to get this URL right here, but you may notice that we have a bunch of them in here. Okay? And I think there's always going to be 20 of those. So to do that for pattern matching, luckily for us, that's built right into KLWP. And let's make sure we have 20 of them first. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to change this. Right now it does show 20, but I want to change this to that URL that I have as my global, and I called it 500px. So global variable 500px. And what do we want to match with? I don't want to match with this. I want to match with this drscdn.500px.org. Let me see if I can zoom in on that. This is what I want to match with, that right there. So let's come over here and type that in. Let's make sure this is going to work before we start proceeding forward. So drscdn.500px.org. Okay. Count, it's not working right now. We're not going to see an image right now. Let me save this. Let me go back to the home screen, and this is going to get rid of that Captain America. But as I'm sitting here and we're letting this kind of do its loading, all of these images have that same pattern in the URL, drscdn.500px.org. All of them will have it. So we're trying to match, and we're going to match the URLs. If the URL has that pattern in it, it's going to grab that URL. And for right now, let's see if this is working correctly. Yes, it is. Okay, so now we're matching 20. Now, I don't want the count necessarily. I want to go ahead and get the first image. So which thing, let me go ahead and set this on. I'm going to go back to my globals. And let's set this to popular. And yeah, that's all I want to do right now. So let me save that, apply that code to it, and I'm just going to go right back into KLWP. All that does is just refresh this little code thing right here. So we still got 20 of them, and let's see if we are going to get these pictures right here. So testing a few things out. Sometimes they may be a little out of order, or sometimes it may skip one. But if I come down to the pattern matching and I don't want to get the count anymore, I want to get the first URL matching the pattern, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And this is going to give us the third one. Okay. So here's what we want to do. We want to delete the word count, because notice I have most of this stuff already there. So extract the third URL. I'm going to change this number right here. And for now, let's just start with 0. If we do 0, let's see if we're going to get this mountain with the purple flowers. So let me save that, go back to the home screen, and as you can see, that's exactly what we have. Let me move this just down a little bit, or let me position it in the center of the screen. So what we have right now is this one. All right, so 0 is technically going to be the first image, and I think if we go from there in that order. So kind of like the code's kind of messed up too, because if we want to get the third one, this is the third one, right? The car that I was showing you earlier, I think I was showing you that. So that's, if this is 0, that's 1. This one right here should be 2, I'm guessing. Let's find out. Yep, see the car? Save that, go back to the home screen. Bam. Okay, we're ready to rock and roll. Now, what we're going to do, we're not going to tie GV count into the actual picture. You'll see how I'm going to tie that in a minute. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to go back, I'm going to set this original image back to 0. All right. Now, when we touch, now you're not going to understand why I'm doing this yet. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. But when we touch this square, we automatically want to set GV count to 0. Okay. So picture 0, we want to set GV count to 0. All right. Backing out, I'm going to go ahead and add a stack group. Now that we've got the picture working and we have it set to touch, I think that's all we have to apply to that. I'm going to go ahead and add a stack group. And inside of this stack group, I'm going to cut the square and I'm going to paste it into that stack group. And that's going to put it right back at the top. Let me position the entire stack group in the center of the screen. So that's not positioning the picture, that's positioning the entire stack group. Make sure you've gone through some of the beginner tutorials before you try to tackle this, because I know I'm probably going a little fast through some of this stuff. All right, now what we want to do, the layer of this stack group, we want to do horizontal centered, and I'm going to apply a little bit of spacing, not much. Let's do like maybe 10 might be too much, depending on the size of your square. But let's take that square, let's copy it, and let's paste it, and that's going to stack one right beside it. So in this one, now this is the second square that we have here. What we want to do is we want to go over to the bitmap and we want to change this to a 1. And not only that, this is what you want to be careful with too. You want to change the GV count to a 1 as well if you touch that picture. Okay, let's repeat this, and I'm going to fast forward until I get to this one right over here where we have 4. I'm going to put 4 on one row. You can adjust your size, put more, put less. I'm going to put 4 per row. So I'm going to fast forward through the rest of this part until I get this first row done. So now what I've done is I have a row of the first 4, but remember this goes 0, 1, 2, 3, and make sure you change the touch to change that GV count, because that will be used in a little while when we apply this to our wallpaper. All of this stuff is going to be inside of a preset, that way we can apply this picture directly to our wallpaper. You could make this a component, but then you would have to add a shape to make it your wallpaper. So I'm just putting all of this inside of a preset. Now what we want to do is we want to create another stack group. So this is going to be, I'm going to call this 0 through 3. 0 through 3, and it's really the first 4 pictures. Okay. Let me copy and paste this. But then also what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another stack group, but this stack group here is going to be a vertically centered stack group. This is going to allow us to put the rows together. So notice we got these 2 stack groups in root, but if we cut these and we paste them into this vertically centered stack group, it's going to stack them just like that. And now we need to position that in the center of our screen. All right. Something else good to do with this vertically centered stack group is get some padding on that. How much should I do while ago? Did I do 5 both ways, or did I go up to 10? I can't remember. Let's find out real fast. Won't take but a second. Layer, okay, 10. So I'm gonna go back to the vertically centered stack group. Its layer is also, or the padding, the margin is going to be set to 10 as well. That way now, if we go back and look at this, what we have is a, a little bit of spacing between each picture that we have. Now that we've copied and pasted this stack group, the 0 through 3, I'm going to rename this one 4, 5, 6, 7. So 4 through 7. That's going to give us the next 4. And what we have to do now is go into each square. So now I'm on this one. So 0, 1, 2, 3. This needs to be 4. I'm going to go repeat that process. So I'm about to fast forward some more. But again, I'm going to change that to a 4. And then also when I touch that square, I want to change GV count to 4 as well. Time to fast forward, 5, 6, 7. All right, so we have those set up. Let's see if we're skipping any of them. So we got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so what we're getting out of this is this one here is kind of getting moved. I told you they can get shifted around a little bit. Some may get skipped, like this one. I don't see it over here yet. And I'm going to go back in a minute and I'm just going to do some testing to make sure everything is getting lined up correctly. But again, like I said, you might skip a few, but you're still going to get plenty. So now that we've done the, what was that, 4 through 7, let's do 8, 9, 10, 11. And basically, I'm going to do that same process again. All right, so here we are on our third row and we have 12 images. We have 8 left to go. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and skip through all this. Hopefully you get the idea. What we're doing is we're just, once we create that one row, we copy and paste it and we go in there and then we change the touch and then the number of the image that we want. So I'll see you in a second. So as you can see now, we do have 20 images showing up here on the cell phone. And now there are going to be more than 20 images on this website, I'm sure, but I think 20 is just fine to show up. You don't want to put too many because it can take a while to load them. You will experience a little delay when you're going through these pictures when you first load them. Now, let's do some quick testing. Let's make sure that when we touch each one of these squares, this one doesn't show up right, but it'll be just fine. It's just because of the advanced editor. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a quick text item and I'm going to position this at the bottom because my notification bar at the top is going to block if I left it at the top. And all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to test GV count so that when I touch each individual box, I want to make sure GV count is going to change. So let me save this, go back to the home screen. It should go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And as you can see, this is working just fine. All right, perfect. So I was making sure that I was, as I touched that each square, it is changing GV count. All right. Now what we want to do, let's go ahead and set this to the background. And what we're going to have to do there is we're going to have to create a button, and I'll organize all this stuff in a stack group. And well, let's go ahead and do that now. So this right here is the actual gallery is what I'll call it. That stack group there is the gallery. Now inside of this gallery, I'm also going to add a text item. And this text item, I'm going to title it whatever the name of my, which gallery do I want, popular, editors, upcoming, or fresh. So I can just go to my globals and that was which. And what we can also do to that, we can capitalize everything real quickly just to make it look better, I guess. Filter, uppercase. There we go. Bump the size up. And then let's slide that to the top of our stack group. Okay, kind of looking like what I had made a while ago. Something else that we want to do, we also want to put our arrows so that we can go from popular to editors to upcoming to fresh. So let's create us 2 icon or put us 2 icon fonts. I'm going to add a font icon. I'll clean this up in a second. This is where we have our star down here at the bottom. I'm just going to pick the fast rewind, whatever. So this is going to let us go left. So if I touch that button there, what I want to do is I want to toggle a global switch. And I want to toggle which is the list, and I want to do the previous value. So that's going to let us go back through the values. Let's take that font icon. Let's copy it and paste. So now we're going to see another font icon, this one here, but I'm going to make it go in the other direction. So fast forward, touch, and I just want to do next value. Now what this is going to do, so as I touch this button, it's going to change this word up here because this word is linked to GWHICH. Well, what that's also going to do is it's going to start changing all these pictures. And I'll just go through them. See, as I'm clicking this button, notice it is going through those words, and then we can go backwards through them as well. Now let's organize these real quick into a stack group. So I'm going to add another stack group inside of this vertically centered stack group. And this stack group here is where I'm going to put the word and the two icons. So I want those to be in a horizontally centered stack group like that. And now let's copy and paste those items into it. Our two icons and our title. So I'm going to cut from there and I'm going to paste them in this stack group. Now that's going to move the word popular down there. We can rearrange our items. And now, since this stuff is in a horizontally centered stack group, we can put a little bit of spacing on that. And let's drag that up here to the top. Boom, just like that. So, what else do I need to do? Well, let's go through, let's save this. Let's go back to the home screen and hopefully no dirty images are going to show up. So everything is loaded up and now we can just cycle through these things. Once it pretty much loads them up, and the only time it may take a little second every now and then is when it's adding new images, when some get removed and some get added. But once they load up, you can go through them relatively quickly. So as you can see, I am cycling right on through these. Now let's apply this stuff to our wallpaper. Now what we're going to have to do there before we do that is we're going to need to add a button to allow us to set, and we need to add a button for our link. Where do I want to put those at? I'll tell you what, I'm going to, I'll just add a new stack group. I'm gonna put these at the bottom. I'm gonna make it look a little bit different than the way I had it at the very beginning. So inside of this stack group, I'm gonna make this stack group a horizontally centered, and I'm gonna add two buttons. And one button is going to be, okay, a star. The star is what we're going to do. Let me see how I want to do this. Okay. The star, I'm going to set to trigger the global switch set. So toggle global switch and set. And right beside that thing, I'm going to add some text. And I'm just going to, this is not going to look the most eye appealing, but this right here is going to be set to GV set. And since it's not set, let me come back in here. Let me save this. Let me go over to globals and let me actually cut that thing on and on one time, on or off one time. That way it'll put a value up here. Notice now we have a number here. All right, so right now, if set is off, let's think of it like this. I don't need GV count anymore. I'm going to delete that. I don't need the text I had down there, that 0. This 0 I still want to mess with a little bit. This is going to tell me whether I have set on or off. So if GV set is on, that means if it equals 1, we want to see the word on. Otherwise, we want to see the word off. And the way you need to think about this is, if you see the word on, that means whenever you click an image, it's going to be set to your wallpaper. But when you have that button cut off, it's not going to set it. So you can like keep whatever wallpaper you have until like you restart your device or something like that. All right. So toggling that on and off. And now we're ready to apply our wallpaper. So going back to root, going to background, I'm going to go to type an image. And for the image, we are going to do that WebGet code. Let me make sure I'm doing this right. Let me think. All right, WebGet, we want to get the URL. This one right here, but of course I'm gonna come in here and change some stuff. This needs to be that GV500PX, and then remember the pattern we were matching was not quite this. What was it? drscdn.500px.org. And now the comma. This is where it becomes important. So the comma 3, well, this number can change depending on which picture you touch. Remember how we touched each picture and it changed the GV count to match the number that it was in this little RSS thing? Well, that's what we have to tie in here. So GV count. That's going to allow us to change the picture. However, we only want this to happen if GV set is on. So if GV set is on, if it equals 1, then we do want to apply this image. Otherwise, make sure I get my commas right. Otherwise, we don't want to do anything. So I think if we just put little quotations in there like that. So if our switch is on, we want to use whatever image we get from this URL. But if the switch is off, we don't want to do anything. And I think just by putting 2 quotation marks there, it will not change anything. So let's save this. Let's go back to the home screen. And for right now, you know, I'm gonna click on the car. Okay, so I can't hide this thing yet because I haven't animated it. But since this is on, every time I come in here and click on a picture, it's applying the fox. The fox is in the background. I tell you what, let me go ahead and add some animation to this too. That way we can get this gallery out of the way. Whoops. And what we're going to have to do there is globals. I'm going to add another on-off switch. I'm going to call it show. And for items, I'm just going to add this. Now, I'm not putting this button inside of the stat group. I'm putting this button directly in root. That way I can still always see this button, but I'm getting ready to hide this gallery so that I can preview the images a little bit better. So let me just pick something different than a star so I don't confuse myself. I'm just going to click that. And when I touch this thing, what do I want to do? I want to toggle that GV global of show. Okay. And let's position that at the bottom of the screen. So this is going to allow us to animate the gallery. Well, how do we animate this gallery that we've created? I'm going to go to animation inside of that gallery with all those stat groups. And I'm going to, so when I cut this button on, it don't matter which way you do it. We can react on a global switch. We want to react on show, that one I just created. And basically I want it either fade in or fade out. It don't matter since we're just going one way or the other. So if I save that, go back to the home screen. Now if I touch this, it should fade out. If I touch it again, it should fade back in. So we just got a real quick animation. That way we can see whatever wallpaper we have. So if I click on the fox, right now my wallpaper is set on. So whatever I click on, it's going to change the image. And I mean, it's not like 100% super quality HD, but doggone it, it looks good enough to me. So there's the fox. Let's see if we can get the kids in the box. As you can see, the kids in the box are showing up. That looks kind of like my son, a little bit older version. And now suppose we want to, if we cut this off, what this is going to do now, if I come and click on the car, notice the kids didn't go away. If I click on the fox, I'm clicking on the fox, it doesn't go away. If I click on the mountain, that wallpaper back here does not go away because I have this thing set to off. But if I come and cut this back on, whichever one I touched last, it's going to show. And I think the last one I clicked on was the mountain. I'm going to click on this one anyway. Notice it did not change, but if I cut this thing back on, wallpaper is now set to on, which means it is going to apply that image to the background because that's the way we coded our background. And then the last thing to show you too is even if you cut this thing off and if you go between various things, notice I'm going to a whole brand new gallery, the upcoming. Where's that at? You know, upcoming. So we're going to this gallery now. We got to give it a second to load, but this is where we should be seeing some of these images here anytime now. These should be loading, but again, it does take a little bit of time to load them. And the reason why it does that too, that I'm thinking about it, if you go in and out of your gallery or in and out of your advanced editor, see some of these here, they don't really match up hardly at all. And I'm guessing it's just whatever you're getting from the RSS feed. So upcoming, the actual gallery itself, these right here are what we see. But if we go to .rss, this is where it's actually getting the images from. So if we look, like this first one here, we didn't see that a minute ago, or I didn't see the boat, or I didn't see this woman. Is that she holding a balloon or something like that? But this is like 0, 1, 2. So let's go to, here's 0, here's 1, here's 2. So I'm already thinking this is going to load the right image. This is where it's actually pulling the image from. It's not getting it from, and I'm testing these out, and this should work. This should load up her. As you can see, that's where it's getting it from. It's getting it from the .rss. So whatever is in that is what it's going to show. It might not show what's directly at this website here, but as you could see a moment ago when we did like popular, let me get back to popular real fast. Popular, as you can see, it does show pretty much all those images, but it depends on what is at the .rss. That's where it's going to pull that image from. And one more thing to round it all up is to show you how to get the link. And the link is going to work. We can just come, and I've done this in a couple of videos. I'm gonna go back into my gallery. I'm gonna go down here where I have the button to cut the set on and off. And basically, I'm just going to, let me just copy and paste that star icon. And I'm just going to change that to a plus. That's going to allow us to get the link. And the way we do that is we go to touch, go to plus, or go to touch, and then go to open link. And the link that we want to open is the one that we are now, this is only going to work. It's only going to work based on whichever one you've touched, though. So if we go to WebGet, and let me change this. What was it? DRS, and this URL was what was the GV500PX, and then we want to use GV count. That way, whatever one we touch, that's the one it's going to get the link to. So if I check that, let me apply. Let me do this as well. So this cuts it on, and this right here is just going to get a link. So save that, go back to the home screen, and let's click on. So it's on, so it should change to a fox right now. And as you can see, we do have the fox right there, same picture. And if we want to get a link to it, we press this right here. It should open up the internet to the fox image. And it's going to do that because it's going to be dependent upon what GV count is. And yeah, there you have it. Now, if you're interested in the earth porn, nature porn, geek porn, what I had at the very beginning of the video, make a request and I'll get to it sometime in the near future. But for now, the Dark Skittles folks, you're getting that preset. Those of you who have KLWP Toots, you'll be getting this update in KLWP Toots right here shortly. And there you have it. That's how you can create a gallery of pictures to cycle through and pick and apply to your wallpaper based on the 500px website. And that's it for this video. I hope it helped.